And of course, can also raise hand and yeah, wait to ask a question until you're given the floor. Usually, I think we decided on finalizing the speeches, and then there is like a Q&A session afterwards. So, whoever has not heard also about alchemia-nova yet, it's we are around for like 20 years, and finally are really happy that the circular economy is taking off. We are cradle-to-cradle partners since the year 2006, and follow up on all sorts of circular economy debates and policy making, or like policy recommendations, not making unfortunately yet, but recommendations and systemic interactions. Yeah, and I'm happy to introduce to you now Laura Cutaya from ENEA. She is there the head of laboratory resource valorization at the Department of Sustainability, and she will give us some opening remarks to start with. Laura, please, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you, Johannes. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to share my presentation. Paola? Yes. Yes. We are here after 1 year from the previous event, also was last year online. And this session, this circular talk is part of a twin event today and then Tuesday, because our idea was trying to understand together the relation between the potential collaboration between along the value chain and between value chains in order to use and recover better resources to be used in this sector, and then understanding the market mechanism and potential, but also barriers and levers in order to use better, again, resources and use better, for instance, secondary materials. As you all know, the construction demolition sector in Europe is a very impressive, has a huge potential, both for the consumption of materials, but also in terms of impacts that are coming from this very important sector. There are several policies in this regards. There will be listed and mentioned by our following intervention during the day. For now, just to remember that about 50% of the material used in Europe are for this sector. So, as consequence, there are impacts, production of waste, production of greenhouse gas emissions, and so on. This sector is also the largest contributors for the main carbon-intensive value chain: steel, cement, plastic, paper, glass, and non-ferrous metals. So it's really important to understand how these materials are consumed, are produced, and how it's possible to optimize also the secondary value chain of these materials, whatever they will come from, whatever they will come from this value chain, construction infrastructure, but also even if they are coming from other value chains, whatever sectors they are. The last year we did some work for the previous circular talk, for the previous seminar we did, and we focused on some strengths and some weakness of this sector in Europe. There are some strengths that are also some strength, but also some opportunities to improve in material circulation, in improvement of the production processes, in the potential or the extension of the lifespan of products, in the huge amount of construction demolition waste that from one side are a problem, but from the other side can be a potential of reutilization. But in my opinion, when this potential is used in substitution of primary materials. So construction demolition waste are useful and are a very good opportunity, but when they are used in substitution. And in this regard, in my opinion, there is still room for improvement. Then there are potential of on the design for the construction, which still is offer potential of having more successful materials to be used. And in this regard, we will have also during the day some interesting intervention. Coming back to the weaknesses of this sector, there are some problems in price competition between secondary and primary materials. There is a lack of confidence by stakeholders in using, for example, secondary materials for some applications. There is still some problem in the content of in hazardous substance materials that can make the recovery of these materials impossible or really difficult. There are some problems in data, in available data for any application. And this can be some delay between the implementing circular action and the benefits they come from. The next slide, please. The last year we did a first orientation paper, which is available online, and where you can find some data on policy background, contribution to carbon neutrality of this sector, and so on. Now we are going to update this orientation paper that will be led to an output paper of this twin event, and that this output paper will be available after the event. So please stay online and stay tuned to have this output paper when it will be ready. Last year, just to show you how we worked last year, we through the orientation paper we focused in some areas of intervention to improve circularity in the construction sector. In this year, we will do something similar also during these twin events. So we will try to find from you stakeholders participating in this event some contribution to understand better strength and potential of these sectors in the way to the circular economy. just to show you, we had last year on during the workshop some pools, promoted some pools with stakeholders, and that pools had some as results some focus on the needs, for example, of integrated policies and governance between construction and extractive sectors and extractive industry. And the second issues was the second remarks was to keep in mind to adopt life cycle thinking approach for, let me say, monitoring this the action between for this policy implementation also. We had also an online survey post event with some results that are here reported. Coming back to today's event, as I mentioned at the beginning, we would like to split this event into main in 2 days, today and Tuesday. Today the focus is on the relation, the collaboration along the value chain in order to share and to link and to match materials and resources to be used along the value chain. But also, and in my opinion, it's this also a very important issue, the collaboration between these sectors, construction, infrastructure, and other value chains in order to recover materials, but also in order to share materials with others value chain. The session of Tuesday will be focused on market of primary and secondary building materials. Here are listed some barriers and or some levels, but we will discuss this part on Tuesday. Now, for ending my speech, I would like to that you will can contribute to this first poll going to slido.do and type this code to participate. This Slido will be opened during the session, and you will be asked to answer this this issue. Which issue do you think are the most strategic in order to boost value chain collaboration and connection within the construction sector and within other sectors, I would like to say. So please connect to Slido, type this code, and contribute also during the meeting to build this map. The other point I would like to share with you is the survey of the World Bank. The survey is for the capacity of the public sector in mainstreaming the circular economy. So please take the survey at this www.surveymonkey.com/circular-Europe and share your opinion on this. From my side is all, I guess. Thank you for your kind attention. I give back the floor to Johannes. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. It's very interesting to see how the sector evolves and how we can in the future expect more and more things to happen around recycling, deconstruction, and the whole value chain of symbiosis and flows in construction. Good. If you have questions, please mark them down. We will have a dedicated session at the end of this circular talk at 11:30. we'll have more than 20 minutes then to have these the Q&A session. So please mark questions if you already have one. And I'm happy now to announce our next speaker, Baiba Miltovica, I hope I pronounced it correctly, from the section for Transport, Energy, Infrastructure and the Information Society, the part of the European Economic and Social Committee, EESC. As you probably know, the EESC is a co-founder of the ECESP, the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, and Baiba is a member of the Consumer Policy Advisory Group from the European Commission Directorate General of Justice and Consumers, and in the Latvian National Association for Consumer Protection. So I'm really looking forward to her talk, and Baiba, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Johannes, and I would like to also thank my previous speaker, Laura, for giving this introduction. I hope you can hear me well and you can see me well. So I will.
Yes.
Thank you. So yes, good morning in this, I would say, circular economy community. And I learned this morning that there are 120 registrations for this event. So I think the topic is not without attention. And I think we think about it as one of the priorities, keeping in mind Green Deal and Fit for 55 package that we are now ongoing. Indeed, I would like to thank organizers, ENEA, also alchemia-nova and Innowo, for bringing forward this topic on construction and infrastructure value chains. Why? Because I represent 10 section, which is transport, infrastructure, and energy. And we early this year worked on the Renovation Wave for Europe strategy, and we underlined how important this sector is for the energy, for example, consumption, because the buildings account for 40% of total energy consumption. And actually, it links with very many important points. For example, not only about sustainable development, health protection, but also thinking about handling of asbestos, some particulars that might be more dangerous for human health. Also thinking about green transition and how we can help in this regard. So I'm really happy being with you today and following debates, because we will continue working on Renovation Wave for Europe under the French presidency next year. So I will be writing down all the ideas and brilliant comments of today. Another aspect of the opinion that we adopted in the committee is on the new circular economy action plan. And under this new circular economy action plan, we worked on the on such initiatives as, for example, make sustainable products, empower consumers with access to reliable information and true rights to repair the products. In many cases, it is a really problem. We also tackle issue of batteries and vehicles, packaging, electronics, and ICT. So many aspects, and you can introduce with these opinions in our EESC website. So yes, my name is Baiba Miltovica. I work for Economic and Social Committee, and now in this mandate, I'm working for the 10th section as a president. So as I mentioned, transport, energy, and infrastructure. Economic and Social Committee is umbrella organization of 329 civil society organizations representing all EU member states, employers, workers, and different other civil society groups, as Johannes, you rightly said, consumers, farmers, environmentalist groups, family organizations, people with disabilities, so many groups in the third group. And we understand the transition to a circular economy is essential for a more sustainable and more robust European economy. And this is why Economic and Social Committee some time ago, together with Commission, launched joint initiative called European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, and this is why we are meeting today in this format of this platform and circular talks. As many of you already be aware, the platform is a European one-stop shop for the circular economy community, and many of the members are participating in many circular talks. For example, this is 5th circular talk for me within this year, so I'm really honored to continue participating. Our community of circular economy in this platform is growing, and it's still, there are many good practical examples of circular economy in this platform. In fact, the content exchanged on the website and comes from stakeholders. Actually, it comes from you. You are really showing us the ways, you are showing us new materials, new ways of how circular economy can work better. And this is a way how we as members can integrate in opinions these practical ideas. European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform also runs these circular talks as forum for stakeholders to come together and exchange their ideas and practices in specific fields, for example, such as industrial symbiosis. Apart from its active role in platform, acts as a driver for industrial symbiosis while identifying the barriers through its opinions. In its role as consultative body to the EU institutions, Economic and Social Committee organizes thematic exchanges with a wide range of civil society actors and prepares opinions, as I already mentioned, on issues related to industrial symbiosis. One example of such opinion on top of the others are on circular public procurement. While public procurement can bring strong benefits for a framework policy, there are many barriers which also apply to industrial symbiosis and need to be considered. And this is the only way how we can learn about these barriers, by talking with stakeholders. Indeed, the Green Deal itself highlights its support for the circular economy when it states that a key aim of the new industrial strategy is to stimulate the development of lead markets for climate neutral and climate oriented products. Industrial symbiosis, when it states that EU companies should benefit from a robust and integrated single market for secondary raw materials and bioproducts. Industrial symbiosis can be considered as a microcosm of the circular economy. Partners in industry aiming for zero waste and using resources to maximum with a closed loop. And in this regard, I would like to turn attention to two practical examples, but of course there are many more in the platform. I would like to ask to switch the slide. Thank you. And first example is Insight. So Insight is a good practice of industrial symbiosis towards green growth. And the main objective of this Insight project is to develop the industrial symbiosis facilitator that helps transition towards the design of a common curriculum and learning approaches. And there are more results in this initiative, like industrial symbiosis facilitator, key study based on the current knowledge, skills, and qualifications regarding the industrial symbiosis. There are also curriculum, as I mentioned, for the training courses, which is essential in my view if we talk about industrial symbiosis, and also different joint trainings, collaborative platform, and also blueprint for industrial symbiosis. Another example is, or good practice is crush cocoa. So you see in the screen, a new ecological paper from cocoa beans. So it also shows how we can use new forms of producing paper from different materials. As I mentioned, in the Economic and Social Committee, you have a circular economy platform, and there are many examples, and there are dedicated specific website where you can find these examples, and you can join us to our community. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not take more floor because I see that Johannes is already joined us. And I would like to really give floor to the next panel discussions. And I would like to say that we are really welcoming you in Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform community. And I really wish you very fruitful exchange and successful day on the topics as I mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Baiba. It's really impressive also how industrial symbiosis is moving forward, and how urban flows can also start to interact with industry references. So I'll have some more insights later on that topic as well, if you want. But to not take so much time of the speakers, I would love to introduce Aurelio Bracon now to you. He is from the European Steel Association, Eurofer, and developed from engineering and earthquakes, and that topic joined the steel industry and is now since 2011 in Eurofer. And he's now the senior manager on circular economy and raw materials. Please, Aurelio, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. Now I will try to share my screen. Can you see my screen, Johannes?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So then, good morning, everyone. So, yeah, well, I'm working for the steel industry on the circular economy and raw materials. And today, what I would like to present you is the state of the art of what the steel sector does, to which works and construction steel sector contributes with its byproducts. Just to give me an introduction. Voila. So, well, the steel sector, we are talking about symbiosis. So if you look at this graph that I prepared making a European survey, and you see the steel industry, I mean, since decades is working on this in this way using synergies, and then you see that we work to exchange as many material streams as possible together with the other sectors, aiming at having nothing going waste. And in principle, then you can see we change with the cement, construction, agriculture, refractory industries, energy sector, chemical industry. So we are part of the industrial ecosystem. That means that all the industries linked together, they are related. So, and that's the important element, because the industry of the future should work in this way. And then I would like to talk you and to go directly to the core of my presentation. Today, what I would like to explore is what the steel sector does with his main co-generated material. Together with the steel, we generate a ferroslag. So ferroslag comes from minerals and is used in order to protect the steel during the liquid production. And of course, this material is also the one that gives to the steel its properties. That means that they work in a sort of symbiosis themselves, that without ferroslag you cannot have steel. And every part of our process generates a different type of ferroslag. It means that there is not only one type. There are different types, different properties. That means that then we generate a different type of, we can say, artificial stones or aggregates. If we look in terms of volumes, about what does this mean? In 2006, for instance, we arrived to produce 158 million tons of steel at European level. But then together with this, the sector generated around 48 million tons of ferroslag. That is quite a huge number. And according to a survey that Eurofer performed with Euroslag, that is our European association collecting science and data and information how to optimize the use of the ferroslag. So we made a survey, and then you see that we survey around 40 million tons of total slag. And then we arrive to the numbers that around 34 million tons of ferroslag is used among cement, concrete, additions to cement, road construction, in engineering works, and so on. So this makes really the ferroslag is a huge contributor to the construction sector as a secondary raw material. Going more into just to identify what is the ferroslag and these properties. So someone is telling, well, the ferroslag is the waste of the steel sector. Well, I don't agree. The ferroslag is material that is fatally co-generated with steel. And this is something that in the end is not generated by chance, but is generated together with the material. And the industry now is working, and is working since decades, in order to improve the performances of this product. That means that it's not a waste that just is put aside, so waiting, okay, what we will do with this? No, it's the contrary. The ferroslag comes out in a liquid phase. And then what we do, we try to give to the material the right properties for the perfect use. Then we have, for instance, granulated blast furnace slag that comes out from our primary production. This is almost 100% glazed and is latently hydraulic. That makes it really perfect to work in synergy with cement or with other cementitious materials to create a new, more sustainable products for the future. Or then we have the slag from the blast furnace that is not granulated but is air-cooled. Then it becomes like an aggregate, like a stone, with a crystalline structure and is inert. Or then we can have the slag from an electrical furnace that is the secondary production using ferroscrap. And then you can have some sort of new process in order to granulate, to vitrify, to the material, in order to give them the perfect properties. In fact, you see in this table, I don't want to go through it, but the point is that you can add and create your recipe and say, okay, and someone is saying, well, there are heavy metals or contaminants. Well, this is not entirely true. What there is in is what was contained in the earth crust that has been extracted and then concentrated and processed to have the steel. And what it comes from the earth crust goes into the slag. And the point is to create a structure able to not leach into the environment, to create no environmental risk, and to do not harm health and environment. Then you see adding some alumina, some lime, so we can arrive to find the right recipe just to say nothing will go into the environment. That is rather different to say that the ferroslag is a waste. It's more a secondary raw material. And in fact, I put together some photos and some examples. Different types of slag means different application, and the main application is cement and as aggregates. You see, for instance, you find these two buildings here, realized in Ohio in 1930, and almost all the aggregates there have been replaced using ferroslag, and it's still standing. So the original photo in this photo is from 2015. Or you can use the ferroslag in order to replace aggregate for road construction. Sometimes, in certain application, I would say the ferroslag gives better performances because, for instance, the asphalt has more grip, there is more resistance. The layer below the asphalt are more durable, and they can stay longer, and then you can have high bearing capacity. But going directly to the what to do, what is the problem. I have still 2 slides and then I finish, Johannes. The legislation. The ferrous slag for us is a byproduct, it's not a waste. However, the European law has different interpretation across the countries, and we don't see there is no level playing field. For instance, the procurement instrument as such many times doesn't allow to have the secondary raw materials in the public tenders. Then, I mean, I listen already as hazardous substances, but in the pure precautionary principle, in the end, doesn't fit with the circularity, because in the end, you cannot clean everything. The point is that you need to create a real condition to have no risk. Otherwise, then you will not have a circularity. The ferrous slag is rich registered. That means that there has been years of toxicology tests. We have made hundreds, and is classified as not hazardous substances. And there are no real risk. And third, from a practical point of view, it is the legislation important? Well, from our experience, it's more the cooperation between producers and users. What a user needs, which is performance. This is the starting point. You need to create a very large and robust knowledge base for technical aspects and environmental performance expected by contractors. And if we look at the legislative approach, and then I prepare this map for you, blast furnace slag is a byproduct. But then you can see there are many different legal interpretations across Europe, and I have not mixed all the ferrous slag types together, otherwise it will be even worse. And having just a top-down approach using a legal instrument maybe could create more inconsistencies. Rather, it's better to start working from what the construction sector needs, what the contractor needs, and from there to have a more fit for circularity framework, legislation that will not see the secondary resource as a waste by definition, but as something with a value. And the last slide, just a reminder, what is necessary to be done? Well, of course, the technical approach should be harmonized. The member states should have a different views on this kind of material. Secondly, I've reported here some examples. In France, there was a perfect example from CETRA, in which slag producers, contractors, and final users, they defined guidelines. And the government said, well, this works. And then the slag is used there without any problems. Then you see, this is a more practical and more coherent approach. Performance-based. The material you use, you should just look at the performance you expect. If it's natural or artificial, in the end, the circular economy doesn't matter. And of course, we compare natural aggregates with our ferrous slag. Even natural aggregates, you have heavy metals, and they can leach as well. So maybe we should have then a sort of level playing field between primary and secondary, and just to say, okay, let's give it to the same to the older material the same possibilities, and let's see who will perform better. And the last, just having a risk-based approach and not a management one. I've been in my 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more, Johannes, sorry. But this is all, and of course I'm open to all the questions you may have, concerns, so I'm here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Aurelio. It was really interesting to listen to the industry side of the steel construction. Is obvious that has many byproducts, and they should be utilized in industrial symbiosis or for any type of reuse scheme. That's clear. So thank you so much. I hope we'll catch up and we get some attention on that also in the future. And I'm happy to introduce to you now the next person with a big background in the cement factory. Nikolakakos was worked for many years in the cement plant in Greece, and has now joined from 2017 the CEM Bureau as Environment and Resources Manager, dealing with the topic of waste use, emissions to air, resource efficiency, and biodiversity. So, Nikos, the floor is yours, please.
Hello, Johannes. I hope you can hear me well. Good morning to everyone.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. Very nice to be here. I will try to share my my slides.
Perfect. We can see them.
Okay. Okay. So yes, I will give a presentation on behalf of Sembiro about the contribution of the cement sector to the circular economy and the use of raw materials and waste-derived fuels. As an introduction, Sembiro is the European Cement Association, is based in Brussels. And in this map here, we can see the members of Sembiro, which are the national cement associations of the EU countries, plus some more countries like Turkey, which are not in the EU. The main driver for the circular economy and the policies at the moment is the reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions. And we see the targets that are set by the European Union for 2020, 2030, and 2050, and what has been actually achieved in 2015. There are several regulations like the so-called communications by the European Commission, like in the Clean Planet for All in November 2018. 2019, there was the European Green Deal, which is still active. And very lately, just a few months ago, was the Fit for 55, which is a mix of regulations described briefly in this chart in the right part of the slide, which contains many different regulations which all aim to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. And the vision of the EU is to become the first climate neutral region in the world. Now, as Sembiro, what we try to do to respond to all these challenges is to create a roadmap how to reach the zero CO2 emissions in 2050. And we have identified different pathways, starting from the clinker production, then going to the cement manufacturing, then going to the concrete, because cement is an intermediate product. The actual building material is concrete, and then going to the construction, and finally the carbonation, which is the absorption of CO2 emissions when the concrete is during the lifetime of the building. And we have specific targets for the different pathways. For example, to reach 60% alternative fuel rate in 2030 and 90% alternative fuel rate in 2050, and to use decarbonated raw materials, and specific policy asks like the access to non-recyclable waste and biomass waste, to facilitate the waste shipment, and very important also to ban the landfilling of waste. Here is an example, a graph of the municipal waste recycling at the EU level. So every country of the EU, and what is the actual rate in 2019, and the average of the EU, we see that it is almost 50%. And these are the targets for 2020 and the targets for 2035 that has been recently agreed by the member states. However, we see that many members are still behind these targets. So still there are a lot of things to do for municipal waste. And what is interesting is to see the rate of co-processing, which is the use of alternative fuels in the cement industry to substitute the fossil fuels. And this is the rate that has been measured by the consulting company Ecofis in a study that they prepared for Sembiro in 2017. And we see that the countries that have a high rate of municipal waste recycling have also high rate of co-processing, and the opposite. The countries that have low rate of co-processing have low rate of municipal waste recycling, and this came to a conclusion that it's not the technical investments or the technical aspects that hamper the increase of use of alternative fuels, of use of waste derived fuels in the cement sector, but it's more to have a good and an advanced waste management system so that there is available material to use in the cement sector. And this is where comes our support to policies like reducing the landfilling, increase the landfilling taxes, ban on landfilling, and improve the separate waste collection. Here is a graph to show the thermal energy from the alternative fuels and how it increases per year. This is in average in the used cement sector, and the latest data is at 50%, which means that 50% of the thermal energy comes from waste derived fuel like SRF, the solid recovered fuel, or RDF, or used tires, or sewage sludge, for example. And the other 50% comes from fossil fuels like petcoke and coal. And our aim is to reach at 90% the substitution rate, so almost all the thermal energy to come from alternative fuels. Some advantages of the co-processing, and so this technology of using waste for the heat in the cement sector is that it combines both material recycling and energy recovery, because the mineral part of the waste, like for example in the in the end-of-life tires, the iron which is contained in the tires becomes part of the clinker, so it is it's a kind of a way of recycling. Also, that cement kilns represent existing and available installations, so there is no need to invest to new waste to energy facilities or waste incinerator facilities. There is a very efficient process, energy efficient process, 70 to 80%. And in this graph, what it is identified by Ecofis, the reduction to CO2 emissions, to the amount of waste that would be used, the savings to fossil fuels, and the euro which will be avoided to new infrastructure. And this is just 2 slides, and I will close my intervention. So this is about the concrete, which is the final building material, as we said, because cement is only the powder, concrete is the material used in the buildings. Our main message is that concrete is 100% recyclable, so it can be recycled. What we need is to have a reduction of landfilling of the construction demolition waste and improvement in the separate waste collection. This is some of our policy asks at European level, and also to use both high quality and low quality recycling. We believe that there is a room for both. And the final slide is again to repeat the policy asks, as we said, to have access to waste, to facilitate the waste shipment. The waste shipment regulation is under revision during these months, and to reduce the landfilling. And here is a brochure in our website where there are more details about the waste streams that are used for the thermal treatment. I have not covered the raw materials used for the cement production. As Aurelio said before, for example, the blast furnace slag is it's a material that is very well used in the previous years, very well established, and it's a very good material in for the cement sector. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will be glad to answer to any questions that will follow.
Thank you. That was a great view on how the cement industry has a view on that, and I think that's that's applicable to the whole cement industry in general, and also these reuse of construction demolition waste should become the norm. And I still see some hindrances, but I see also many applications in this urban mining. When we were searching for smaller crushing, like concrete shredders, it was not always easy to find in all the sizes that we want, but I'm sure that the market will catch up on that as well for reuse and then reconstruction. So great, thank you, Nikos. I'm also glad now to be able to introduce our next speaker, Alessia Olga Iscaro from Saint-Gobain from Italy. She worked on material engineering and environmental engineering as her background, and joined the Saint-Gobain group in 2007 already, working on recycling systems of construction and demolition waste and others. So also being able to, knowing the European co-financing world of Life Plus and the like, and currently she's the Environment, Sustainability and Public Affairs Manager at Saint-Gobain. Please, Alessia, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'll try to share my presentation. Do you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Alessia Olga Iscaro, and I work in Saint-Gobain as Environmental Sustainability and Public Affairs Manager. What about dry construction system? That is the argument of my presentation. Dry construction systems are made by plasterboard and very often by insulation panels screwed on a metallic structure and used to divide contiguous rooms. So today I put the attention on the main components, so plasterboards and insulation panels. This kind of construction system, it's a modern construction system that has grown a lot in the recent years. As you see, 10% for years since 2015. And surely is due to the sustainability of the process, the chain of this kind of construction system. But the weak ring for the construction chain, the using chain, is the end of life of the products, because even if gypsum and insulation can be deconstructed, reprocessed and reused in building forever, actually it doesn't happen. And the market data show it, because more than 50% of dry construction system waste is sent to landfill, because there isn't a controlled waste management change, because there isn't a specific recycling solution, and because the costs for waste management are very high. So to understand which is the problems, we have to talk in a different way to plasterboard industry and insulation industry. In the plasterboards industry, the situation is quite good, because more than 80% of internal scraps is recycling in production plants, and because production plants are able to substitute more or less 50% of raw material with recycled gypsum, mainly from internal scraps, but also from construction demolition sector. And because now, since 2 or 3 months, many producers launch on the market 2 or 3 products that have an high gypsum recycling content. In the insulation industry, the situation is not so good, because in the production plants, just 3% of internal scraps is used, and not from construction demolition. And because a great quantity of production insulation waste, but also of construction demolition waste, is sent to landfill and treated as dangerous waste. So the question is which problems for the circularity? The first problem has to be found in the building side, in which there isn't a culture for a selective demolition, even if because the legislation is not enough for this aspect. Control don't exist in the building site, and wastes are mixed without a selection that instead should be made to guarantee a recyclability of waste. Furthermore, legislation gives very complicated rules for management of waste, and the authorization process is too long very often. And as a consequence, but not only for this, for gypsum waste, there aren't performing recycling solution, and for insulation waste, we don't have any solution about recycling. So another time we put a different attention for gypsum waste and insulation waste, because in national territory for gypsum waste we have 4 recycling dedicated plants, but 4 for whole the territory, and we have still an availability in landfills. So what happens in the construction site? It happens that gypsum wastes are mixed very often with other construction demolition waste without selection and sent to landfills or general recycling plants. And this is a problem because there isn't a traceability for waste to have a good recycling process and a good secondary raw material. For insulation, the problems are more because we don't have recycling solution, and we don't have enough availability in landfill. Even if because there is a confusion in the characterization of waste, because waste coming from modern insulation panels are surely not dangerous because the fibers are biosoluble. But the problem is when the waste coming from old panels, because it's very expensive to do analysis on fiber when fiber became waste. So when waste arrive to landfill, all typology of waste are considered as dangerous and sent abroad, because abroad we have more availability and the costs are cheaper. So to summarize, there isn't a clear system of control and characterization of waste in construction demolition sites. It's difficult to develop a control management change for waste. It's difficult to have a performing recycling solution. And as a consequence, the quality of secondary raw material is not good for a totally replacement of the raw material. And the management change is very expensive comparing to the supplying of raw materials. So we don't have circularity. Fortunately, something is changing because there is a shared willingness between producers to implement a controlled value chain for their products, because the dialogue with the authorities is more constructive and productive, because industries are investing in new technologies to implement a new system to use secondary raw materials, and because national regulation are coming to a sustainability, a circularity system to improve also green procurement. So which opportunities we can catch? First of all, we have to use any possible financial form. First of all, resilience and recovery plans, but also other financial form to upgrade technologies in the industries and also to upgrade recycling technologies. We have to implement end-of-waste decrees, because the end-of-waste decrees are the only certification for the secondary raw material that is valid for all territory, for all producers, and for all waste managers. And also producers have to think about the final destination of the products before putting it on the market. for example, using an EPR, extended production responsibility, and EPR can guarantees also the final destination, a controlled final destination for all components of a composite system, such as the dry construction system. To finish, what industries are doing now? With authorities, we are talking with the ministry to create 2 end-of-waste degrees, one for gypsum waste and one for insulation waste. The process is too long, but the importance is that started. Trade Gypsum Association is working with the ministry to create an ERP system with a consortium or other system. And the Insulation Trade Association are working with the ministry to create a good and simple characterization system for waste coming from old insulation panel or from modern insulation panel. And furthermore, industries are working to their technologies to upgrade it to use a great quantity of secondary raw materials, so to implement a closed loop recycling. But in my opinion, it's very important to explore even open loop recycling. Because secondary raw material can be used in other sectors, and it's important to guarantee a certificated final destination. For example, gypsum can be used in agriculture and the insulation as well, or in cement industries. So the opportunities, we must explore any type of opportunities to guarantee a great circularity for waste. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alessia. Now we have seen that also in gypsum there is a lot of potential for recovery of the material, and it almost always boils down to source separation.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alessia.
Thank you.
We are a few minutes behind, but I think everything is still good in shape. And I am now happy to introduce you to a double conference from Ivan Paroli and Stefano Panseri. They both work for the DESPE SPA, and Stefano Panseri is the CEO of DESPE and also Vice President of the European Demolition Association. Ivan Paroli is also works at NADECO, the Italian National Association for Demolition and Circular Economy for Construction, and they both share leading positions at DESPE. So please, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can see me well, and you can see my presentation.
Yeah, you can make it big screen that everybody that you can have it like a full screen, and then it's fine. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Okay, I bring you Stefano Panseri apologies. He had a meeting that has extended beyond the expectation, and Stefano will join the conversation later. My name is Ivan Paroli. I'm the coordinator of the technical commissioning of NADECO. NADECO is the Italian Demolition Association and Circular Economy for Construction.
Ivan, sorry, we still see your the slide mode, not the full screen mode. If you want to,
I see in full screen. I try to change, but
yeah, okay. I mean,
okay.
If not possible, we can also do it like that. It's very small, the slides on the side. It's good. Okay.
Now you can see full screen.
I can still see the same. Probably you have two screens and you would need to share the other one, but
I try to put in a full screen. Yeah. Now?
Yeah, okay, we can still see the slides, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. This presentation was made in collaboration with Stefano Panseri, representing the EDA. EDA is the major, representing the major companies operating in the demolition market in Europe. And go ahead. The selective demolition method has already been applied for several years in our sector. Mainly, however, the selective demolition had the purpose of reducing the risk due to the presence of dangerous substance in buildings and plants, and secondly, to make a selection of material. But what are the main activities carried out in a selective format in a standard demolition project? Removal and disposal of material containing asbestos as the first operation. Removal and disposal of process fluids, for example, in industrial plants or building heating or cooling systems. Removal and disposal of insulation, like shields, dangerous gaskets, rock wool, and etc. Removal of furniture components, typical was called the strip out, this phase of work. Subsequently, there is the structural demolition of the building or of the plant, and then the mechanical selection of materials with separation from the metal from the inert material. Then recycling of the valuable materials, now typical is the metal, and the disposal or recycling of the aggregate according to the possibilities, and disposal or recycling of the all other material. But the circular economy requires to pushing selective demolition to the state of the art, not only for the maximum value of scrap metals or only for a part of the waste, but with the goal of making the largest possible fraction of waste recyclable. I can't see my presentation.
Could you please let us know which slide to go to? Because your slides were not being displayed correctly. So you can see my slides now displayed for you. Just please let me know which slide to go to.
Okay, okay. You can go ahead from the next. Yeah, the next, and now the next. Okay. Selective demolition taken to higher level needs an adequate preventive design to identify the types of materials and the best selective removal techniques. More spaces for the storage of separate waste for different types. More execution times. More manpower hours to remove the materials. New machines and new operation procedures. Go ahead, please. Okay. European demolition companies are already adapting these new standards. Demolition companies have already shown their capacity for innovation and transformation. This was happened, for example, for the improvement for safety in demolition. We are now already observing significant change in the demolition process with the new layouts of the demolition site, significant increases of manpower, machines, and different technical characteristics, new attachment, all with the ultimate goal to producing materials with homogeneous characteristics ready to be recycled. Go ahead, please. But all is not enough. Today, the balance between costs and benefits still hangs dramatically towards the cost. For example, costs are the risk of penalties because the law is very complicated in many countries in Europe. More space are needed to perform a selective demolition. More executive times needed to perform a selective demolition. And it involves higher cost of safety and higher cost for manpower. The benefits now are poor. Typically, a lower disposal cost is if the waste are correctly separated and treated. Economic value of materials. If, for example, the scrap is very, very clean, the economic value can rise, okay? But these benefits don't balance the cost. And what we are do to have a balancing of the cost and the benefits? Go ahead, please. In order to start the virtuous process of a circular economy, an effective incentive system must be combined with selective demolition. Incentives can shift the balance point toward the benefits, okay? And go ahead, please. What could the incentive system be? Now, currently the incentive systems for selective demolition are reduced to a minimum, are applied in a random order and essentially left to the initiative of the local authorities or public contracting station. Generally, the incentives for companies that apply selective demolition can be summarized in a segment of an higher points for the tenders, for the public tenders, or in some isolated case, incentives in terms of the increased volumes for the reconstruction of buildings. But where is it possible and is it allowed? Italy, for example, is very complicated to obtain these benefits. Go ahead, please. We hope that the following incentives system could be introduced concretely in our market, in our system. And the incentives are a simplification of regulation. For example, an application of the end of waste criteria also to construction and demolition waste. For us, this is very important. Applicable criteria and standards for the construction and demolition waste treatment process, which must be not reserved only for the recycling plant, but must be able to start already on site for the recycling of the waste. Clear technical standards that clarify the area of application and the performance required for the recycling materials. Go ahead, please. Technical standards that allow the recovery and direct use of materials already on site. A creation of the demand of the recycled aggregates through reward systems such as the partial or total tax exemption for this material. The task issue is an important system to improve the circular economy. Incentives and reward system for use of the digitalized system for the characterization of the building in the design phase. For example, the BIM is the system to digitalize the information about the building. It's simple for the new building, for the construction building, but it's very complicated for the existing building, okay? Widespread training and information to involve all stakeholders in the supply chain, involving, for example, the universities. Promotion of a pilot project aimed to identify the best practice. This is the incentive system that we hope will be applied in our market. In conclusion, go ahead, please. In conclusion, we think that circular economy in the demolition market will be supported by three pillars. The first pillar is that of companies. They must develop a new approach, new technical and design approach to the demolition project. I contribute to the development of new machinery for a selective demolition. Develop of a clear definition of the recycling targets for each project, operation procedures, and the concrete feasibility of the project. Okay. The second pillar is that of the government, and they must issue an adequate regulatory and law system. An applicability of the end of waste criteria to the highest number of construction and demolition waste, possibility of the treatment also on site, a creation of an incentive system, and the market. The third pillar is that the market must evolve towards a real market and economically sustainable supply chain for recycled materials, and a real market for the reuse of demolition object. The reuse of demolition object is another issue. In Italy, for example, this is an inexistent market for this kind of object. Okay, my short speech is concluded. Thanks for the kind attention, and I'm sorry for my bad English. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivan. I think it was all right, and we all understood. It's a very nice wish list, like sending it to to Santa Claus for the next.
Santa Claus is near.
Yeah, no. That's almost like if we all implement these solutions, I think we have solved most of the things. So thank you so much, Ivan. This was a very nice overview of recommendations that we need for implementing a circular economy thinking in the construction sector. Now we have two speakers left, and I'm happy now to introduce to you Margherita Galli from Federbeton. She comes from environmental engineering and economics, and worked at ISPRA, which is the Environmental Protection Agency from Italy, and then for many years in the concrete area from ATECAP and now Federbeton. Please, Margherita, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I will share my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, is it only me, or did we lose Margherita, or am I lost?
I think we have lost Margareta. Shall we go ahead with the next speaker?
I think she is trying to get back in.
Hello, shall we wait 2 minutes, 1 minute for calling back Margherita Galli? I cannot.
I think Johannes got disconnected. Now he's back.
I'm back now. Yes,
Okay.
I'm back now. I had a problem as well. So it was not only me, it was Margarita as well. That's good to hear this. But maybe what do you think if we go on with Andrea, and then if Margarita joins us back, she can...
Yeah, there is a problem with Margarita because Margarita after have to leave.
Okay.
So we are trying to phone to ask her if she's available right now. Just a moment. Okay, she didn't answer.
Okay.
No, so we can go. We can go. Go.
Okay, if she joins back, we will be happy to have her. Else, we would now go on with Andrea Kessler, right?
Okay, right.
Good. Okay, good. I'm grateful having you here, Andrea. Thank you for joining. Andrea is an architect from the University of Applied Arts in Vienna, and is working currently at Material Nomads, the Materialnomaden in Austria. They do very nice, prestigious projects for recovery and reuse of secondary building materials. They have developed from this harvest map into the current entity, the Material Nomads. So they're definitely pioneers in this field, and I'm really happy that you could join us. Please, Andrea, share your insights with us. Unmute. Please unmute.
Unmute. Now
yes.
I'm back. Hello.
Great. And share screen.
So I will share the screen and hope it is full screen.
Yes, perfect.
Yes, perfect. So thank you for inviting us to join the European Union Circular Talks. We are a young team. We are designers, architects, and construction engineers running a studio in Vienna. Our task is to create circular design and architecture processes, products, and projects. So this is our location where we run and develop an innovation lab to fulfill the circularity in practice, which is quite singular here in Vienna, but as well there are only a few other architecture offices who try to bring reuse into practice. How do we do it? So we design and develop reuse products. We call our products limited edition designs because the source we use is always limited. Our source is buildings which will be deconstructed or materials out of productions from other companies who produce materials for the building industries, but all different materials we will see later on. One of the buildings which was available was a big, huge office building. Here you can see the columns. What do? We go to the buildings and we make material catalogs. And these material catalogs is our source for inspiring to develop new products. We use kind of different materials. So there we can see the parquet, the floor, the wooden floor, which is very often used in the 19th century in Vienna and all over Europe. We have really, really qualitative materials inside the built structure. Right now, the built structure is almost 98% of existing buildings, and therefore we focus on what is already there. We have our workshops for wood and metal. There we assemble prototypes and one-to-one mock-ups as well as models. This is how we do it. We go to buildings where we are invited from the building owners who see the potential of using material as it is there. The ideal situation is to reduce. That means we use what is already existing, and this is the structure. This would be the first task to do, a new design or development for offices, living, architecture, but also we continue developing products for the built industry or as well as design products. This is the source for our ideas, and if it's not possible to use the first structure, we reuse materials. So there are lots of different materials built inside the buildings, and it's a very complex process to get into this demolition process. With this project, we were able to harvest material with the demolition company as well. We will see later on. And we will see also that there are already products which we can transfer with a little piece of a new technology, and we can use it as a lamp. So this is a one-to-one product, and the energy inside the product is kind of transferred into a new product. So we don't need to recycle, but we just need to transfer one small part and use it as a new certified product. Also available materials are the bricks. What is easier than to recycle the bricks? We kind of cut the bricks and use it as with a different function. So the material is available if the enabler, he wants to get rid of the material, and the disposing costs are like kind of the limit, what he is paying. But right now we don't have, or the enabler doesn't have to pay the real costs which are caused by disposing. And as as we have seen before with the demolition companies, it needs lots of manpower and different or new machines to challenge to do make it possible, like to deconstruct the building without demolishing. So there we are using these pillows as benches. We were working together, and the machine should put down the pillows in one-to-one. At the same site, at the location, we had used, we built up pop-up stores, showrooms, and sample recoveries to raise awareness that there is so much material for the planners and the creative industry to reuse. As well, in the back, you see the Restore. That's our library of different materials, and making the materials visible. It's also aimed that we build up the network within Europe and with all the other offices. Restore is yet a B2B marketplace for the resource components, and as well we run this store locally here in Austria. The challenge is to make this material digital available on the platform, but as well as to implement new technologies to combine handcraft technologies with new methods of constructing new buildings and building products. This is our aim, that we next year want to set up this network on the European level to work and define the interfaces. Because of the databases, these should be available all over the different locations where we set up new projects with existing materials. So here you can see the chain. How does it work? We have the source, we have the process of dismantling, of non-destructive dismantling, and we use it as much as possible in a form that we don't need so much energy to get a new recycling material, but we want to use it in a way that energy is saved. But the creativity to make new products is the most important challenge for our practice. Here you can see the old traditional parts put together so that we face in our daily building industry that the dismantling is going not to be easier than it was 100 years and 200 years before, because the products were put together in a simple way, and these technologies is necessary to keep ongoing and combine it with our new technologies. So this makes it necessary to work within a huge interdisciplinary field, and we are also working on these CO2 assessment tools that we can therefore use the regulatives and the pricing systems to make them make the clients use these systems to save CO2 and make it visible how much energy can be saved. So yeah, this was a small insight in our practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I think it's really valuable how we can find a methodology of how we can dismantle, deconstruct, and then reuse the materials. And for all the sector, we have seen partially if you crash concrete to rocks or gypsum and the like, you have to still consider like further ways instead of like using the whole material as such in the reuse mentality. So with the CO2 tool, you might be able to show the benefits of the different dismantling and recycling steps along the construction reuse scheme. Great, thank you. So I see that Margarita is back. Maybe you, Margarita, you want to take it off where you left it before.
Okay, I'll try.
Great.
Can you see my presentation full screen?
Yes, yes, we can see it full screen.
Okay. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Before I get started with my presentation, I would like to apologize as I won't be able to attend the discussion afterwards. In the last slide of my deck, you will find my email address, so please feel free to drop me a line for any question. I will try now to summarize the activities we worked on together with the other stakeholders at the ECESP, the Italian Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. To give you a bit of context, I'd like to spend a few words on Federbeton. Federbeton is the Italian Federation of the National Association of Cement, Lime, Gypsum and Concrete Industry. With 3,000 companies and 34,000 employees, Federbeton represents the 5% of the construction market. As we know, the EU Circular Economy Action Plan aims to enhance the circularity of the construction sector, together with textile, electronics, batteries and vehicles, packaging, plastics and food. Cement concrete can provide an important contribution to the circularity of the construction sector, together with textiles, electronics, batteries and vehicles. Cement and concrete can can provide an important contribution to the circularity of the construction sector, as I was saying, by using recycled materials, byproducts, and waste in their production process. As Nikos said before, since many years, the cement industry replaces the natural raw materials from quarries and mines with secondary raw materials. And likewise, through co-processing, non-recyclable wastes are being converted into alternative fuels to the cement production, replacing fossil fuels such as coal and petcoke. As per the activities done in the ECESP working groups, my intervention is going to focus on the specific topic concerning the usage of the recycled aggregates for concrete production. Concrete is a mixture of cement, aggregates, water, admixtures, and of some minor components as addition, fibers, and so forth. Part of the natural aggregates from quarries can be replaced with recycled ones coming from the demolition of concrete structures or with industrial aggregates such as steel slugs. In Italy, a decree of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transports currently provides the maximum substitution rates for the natural aggregates with coarse aggregates recycled from construction and demolition waste. These rates are defined on a different concrete strength classes basis. As you can see in the slide, for the higher ones, the recycled aggregates must be composed of concrete for more than 90%. Additionally, the national criteria for the green public procurement have been defined to be mandatory by the Italian government. Such criteria are issued by the Ministry of the Ecological Transition and are called minimum environmental criteria. In Italy, we have specific minimum environmental criteria for building, construction, and maintenance. One of these criteria refers to ready-mixed and precast concrete, and it states that concrete must contain at least the 5% by weight of recycled or recovered materials or by byproducts. The Ministry of the Ecological Transition is currently drafting the minimum environmental criteria for infrastructure. As the criteria for the buildings, the one for infrastructure have specific requirements for recycled or recovered materials or byproducts in concrete. And yet, the Federbeton Sustainability Report shows that during 2019, the substitution rate of natural aggregates with the recovered ones was still pretty low. In addition, recycled aggregates from construction and demolition waste could be used to replace part of the raw material necessary for the clinker production, and some companies are implementing this. Besides, at Federbeton, we are moving forward with a study on this topic, and this is a joint effort with the Italian Association of Recycled Aggregates Producers and the Italian Association of Natural Aggregates Producers. Currently, the concrete producers are open to the usage of recycled aggregates, and most of the companies are investing in research on green products, the ones responding to the requirements of the green public procurements. The biggest problem is that the Italian market does not have enough recycled aggregates made at least from 90% concrete, and it's been requested by the Italian law to produce structural concrete. The data provided by the Italian Environmental Protection Agency shows that the recycling target set by the Waste Framework Directive for construction and demolition waste is being achieved by the Italian country since some years, but frequently this happens for waste downcycling processes, for instance, for backfilling. Now, I'd like to share some proposals scoped to increment the offer of high-quality recycled aggregates. First, we will need some leverages. Government funding to improve either the technological level of the existing recycling plants or to building new ones. tax policies to make recycling products competitive on the market with the natural ones, and rewarding actions for projects where recovery materials are being used. And this rewarding system is currently being adopted by some public administration in Italy. Other proposals are related to the actual need of having the national end-of-waste criteria for construction and demolition waste, which are going to be issued by the Ministry of the Ecological Transition, to facilitate industrial symbiosis, to the deployment of the selective demolition where feasible, to the implementation of construction and demolition waste collection point. The last two proposals are give the direction on how effectively separate the part of the construction and demolition waste which can be used to produce aggregates for structural concrete from the other constituents. We share most of these proposals in the Italian Circular Economy Stakeholder platform, on which I'd like to spend a few words. ENEA chairs and coordinates ECESP as a mirror and integrated initiative of the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, and as a national convergence point of initiative, experience, critical issues that Italy wants to represent in Europe. ECESP has over 100 signatories and 169 good practices of circular economy collected in its platform. So the path towards the construction circular economy should be a joint effort among all the stakeholders, such as policymakers, construction materials industries, recycled aggregates producer, construction companies, designers, environmental associations, certification body, and so forth. The ECESP effort is aligned with those principles, as most of such stakeholders are also working in the ECESP's working groups. Specifically, I'd like to spend some words on the work done last year in the construction and demolition subgroup of the ECESP's working group number 4. ECESP's activities aim to spread industrial best practices and to facilitate the dialogue with the institution. Specifically, the ECESP's construction and demolition subgroup worked on a position paper that contains the priorities for closing the construction and demolition waste management cycle. Besides, this report also contains best practices collections coming from the working group members. Those are stored in the ECESP's database, which is available at the link you may find in the slide. I'd like to underline the following ones made by our associated companies. The first is the co-processing of solid recovered fuels in the Buzzi Unicem cement plant in Robilante in Piemonte region, and the concrete mixtures produced by Italcementi using recycled aggregates. Regarding the latter, the ECESP's database contains additionally the description of the Italcementi supply of concrete produced with recycled aggregates for a new hospital in Puglia. On this slide, you can find the list of priorities for closing the construction and demolition waste management cycle contained in the position paper that I mentioned before. That's it from my side. If you have any question, please send me an email, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Margherita. It's great to see that so many big companies and initiatives really take up the topic and try to establish new criteria and new pathways for working with each other. So great, and thank you for joining. I know that you have to leave now. We will now have a Q&A session. We are just 50 or now it's almost 20 minutes behind schedule. But we have now the cushion time for the wrap-up and the poll and the Q&A that are still on our schedule. So if you have please feel free to raise any type of questions, either by raising your hand, writing in the chat, or yeah, feel free to use the platforms that you have as well.
Johannes?
Yes?
Can I add something? I would
Please,
like to remember stakeholders and speakers and also present person that there is the LinkedIn page which is listed in the chat, where we can discuss today and also the next days. So please look at the LinkedIn link for the group and for continuing this discussion even the next days. Thank you.
Great. So, if nobody has a question, I have one. So, to Andrea and the CO2 calculation, which I think is very crucial to add as one of the very nice points to show a potential end user or a client or a building developer the benefits. As there are two sides, I believe, to that. The one is, of course, the CO2 taxation, and the other one is the sustainable finance, the EU taxonomy, which I will also in the wrap-up session have the chance to elaborate a bit more. But do you think that there is the, or have you ever done the CO2 calculations of a business as usual versus recycling versus reuse? And have you some numbers somewhere up your head on these?
Yeah, I have written two numbers. For example, if we talk about concrete, so only the production of 1 ton of concrete has a CO2 equivalent of 1.3 to 1.5 tons of CO2. And in saving the material, like we did with this facade, with this concrete, if we take 40 pieces, let's take 40 pieces. So we have kilograms of 600 kilograms, counting with 40 are 24 tons of raw material, and let's say it's 36 tons of CO2. So this is how we calculate in just saving the existing bounded material CO2. What is like not clear yet is with how far we count material in production, because this producing of new material is also something we save if we use already existed CO2. So there are many steps in calculating, and as well as we are working on site or locally. So for example, these concrete columns, they are used in the same location right now. So we transferred the facade to concrete bench elements for the outside of the new area. There's a huge development. It was an office building, and now there is an apartment building. And for this project, it was possible to use the material on the same site. So we also save transportation costs. As we, this is like how to count and where to start is one step what we are trying to push. And at the same time, it would be a really great opportunity if we as a planner and a designer who develop products which cause less CO2 and which causes but more human power, because it's right now the need to recover or to find methods how to renovate these pieces. So there's lots of development within these products. And if we could like be a CO2 emission counter for other companies, then it would be easier to set up new offices, other planners to work like this, because within the reuse sector, as a planner, you have lots, you need much more energy and so let's say money, and the costs for planning is much higher than using the material which is already there. So we have a shift of costs, and this is not represented at all within all these subscriptions for planning support or planning contracts. So this is one really big step to bring the authorities to that point that the costs for planning in reuse have to be shifted from material costs or to CO2 costs, which causes the clients less, the client have less CO2 emission. So that's
that's a taxation issue. It's the fiscal reform that is so much needed for the circular economy to take off. But whenever but the same is true not only for construction, is for the whole repair mentality and reuse mentality, where people in the industrialized world, where they have like good salaries, need to take something into their hands like several times. It is of course much higher than if the costs are externalized and somebody else in a developing country needs to take it in the hands, and then then through transport the product becomes cheaper for some reason, and of course never reflects the real price. That's a classic one. So shift from primary material market to the labor market, and tax vice versa. So great. The question would also be now to our other speakers from the cement or steel industry or gypsum industry, that if they believe that this CO2 can be a leverage. But before we go into detail with this question, maybe Laura, you also have a comment or a question to raise, or you raised your hand, Laura.
Sorry. Sorry, Johannes. Yes, I have a question for. I put some question for speakers in the chat, but I get answer from everyone more or less. I would like just to ask Andrea the question I put in the chat for her, and I don't know if she can briefly answer to my question. And then I have also another question for Margherita Galli, or if she's not here, if Francesca Ceruti, which is the working group leader in ECESP, can maybe answer to my question. But please, Andrea, thank you.
Can you please ask me the question? I'm not able to go to the chat right now.
The fun fact is the same is true for me. I can also not see the chat for some reason.
Okay. Now the question was about how the market is ready to use your business model, not only in your country but also in Europe. What is your perception on this?
As we are, I think the market is not ready. Here in Austria, we are maybe years behind because we have quite a good working recycling industries, as we are in the middle of Europe, and we are already dealing long-term with recycling processes, which is really necessary because the time span of production of really stupid products, if to say it in this way, because as a designer, we have to develop products where we can be responsible, and we should reduce designs to generate waste. So this is the main critic within my planners and designers group, and also the producers, because the recycling industry is just reacting on what is on the market. So if the products would be intelligent, yeah, we could start from a different point or perspective. At the same time, it's a huge industry, the producing industry, and we as a small company, we are really like in practice working on small scale projects to set up light tower projects, how to navigate through all these regulations and common processes which are not ready yet on a big scale. So there is this huge gap between small scale products and huge industries producing tons of materials and building components, which are right now not easy to or to dismantle in future. So right now we are dealing with the substance, with the materials out of the, let's say, to the 70s, 80s, 90s. So these are the buildings which are easy to dismantle, easier than what is going to be dismantled in 50 years, I would say. But the process has to start in each end and beginning. So because as a designer, we are really in front of a linear process, and it's really hard to make the curve and connect to the processes that we don't produce waste. But I would say there is a market, referring to your question. It's just the cost, like we heard in this presentation from, I think it was Mr. Paroli, that the cost is still the big, huge factor, which makes it not possible for 90% of the market, but now we are maybe at around 5 to 10%, which is not enough.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
There have been some other questions and answers, as I already see as well. Then there is Gerd.
From Andreas Kuperus? Gerd Kuperus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gerd Kuperus.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. My name is Gerd Kuperus. I represent the International Recycling Federation. That includes the recyclers of construction and demolition waste. By the way, I will give a presentation on Thursday about our area, but I just wanted to reflect on the discussion that takes place, which is very interesting. The case is that recyclers in many member states where we have good recycling at this moment have been fighting for over 30 years to get an outlet to the concrete market. From the point of view of supply of recycled concrete aggregates or mixed aggregates, there is no problem actually. Actually, these recyclers are seeking for a long time to find this outlet. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how this can be shaped then in the future. But I think from our point of view, there is no problem in supplying this market, be it that, of course, the amount of recycled materials, recycled aggregates, are limited to the amount of waste that is sent to recycling plants. And but in fact, supplying this market and what Federbeton is presenting in the case of Italy, I think it's as well feasible. It can be done. The prices are no problem. The quality of the recycled aggregates are very high. So I would like to see this discussion take place, how we can, from now on, shape this new value chain. That will be interesting.
That's a very good question. I think there need to be many actors involved, many new business models that should be developed. there is a lot of digitalization, I assume, is what many people say.
No, not necessarily. I think, I mean, the recycling of construction demolition waste is not rocket science. It's very very easy actually, and the key is to produce the good quality material, and that's feasible. That is being done. It's not a very new value chain in that sense, and nothing needs to be changed. The material is there. I mean, if I go to recycling plants in Germany, Flanders, the Netherlands, I see good quality recycled concrete aggregates and recycled mixed aggregates fit for being used in concrete production. So the only thing is they now have to be shipped from that site to a concrete site, that or a cement production site. That's all.
Yeah, if we consider this systemically in a city, where then you have a deconstruction or demolition happening and another construction happening, the logistics behind that, and all the time like moving resource flows from one side to the other with an intermediate like step, which should, I think, in the future should be mobile. These kind of treatment and concrete steps. I mean, at least in Vienna, they say that even these digitalization, to know which materials you can have, which materials you, at what point you expect which buildings to be deconstructed or demolished, and then beforehand what materials to expect and to plan with this, to be able to plan with this. At least in Vienna, they say that the digital models will be key. Yeah. But I'm sure I'm also not so, I mean, I see that digitalization is happening, if we want it or not. So why not also make use of it? But it's,
of course,
I think it's that the biggest issue is not the digitalization, is really the quality of the materials and the trust in the material. That's the biggest thing, and that is accepted. Even if there is material available, many people would not even use it. They would say, is it stable? Is it proven? Can we really reuse these material? And so on. Yeah, I'm sure we all know. So, do we have another question from the attendees or the audience? I mean, I like this CO2 debate, but I think we don't need to expand on it too much right now. Also, as we're back in time, if there are no further questions, we can also move on with our program, which now would be the time for the poll, the 3 questions plus the results. I see that many attendees have left already, but still I think that's feasible. So maybe Laura, you want to guide us through the
Yes, Johannes, thank you very much. I'm going to share the slides. I would like to thank you all for having responded to the previous poll, which is still ongoing. So if you want, you can still put your ideas and words on this. But going back to this pool, there is another pool you can access again through Slido with this code. So please go to Slido, because this pool will be done online. So we need to go through one slide by one question to the other one. So we can go to the first question. And please answer this question in order to understand who we are. So please answer which organization you belong to now, so we can understand the audience, where I come from. Okay. We can wait some moments in order to have your question, to have your answer, sorry. Okay. Please remember in the next days, if you want to share your ideas and proposal and knowledge and whatever on LinkedIn, so maybe we can take note of this suggestion also for the output paper. I think more or less we are okay with this first question. Maybe we can go to the second one. Now, please share your opinion in which of the following stage of the construction value chain there is the stronger collaboration up to now, in your feeling, your perception, and please rank the following stages. You can answer to this question now. Okay. Yeah, we are, I think now we can move, if everyone has responded, we can move to the last question, please. And now, last question is, in which of the following other sectors there is the strongest collaboration with the construction and the infrastructure sector? Please rank the following sectors. You can answer. Question is ready. Okay. I encourage people to share your opinion. Your opinion absolutely, how do you say, valuable, but also useful for us in order to understand your opinion and to help us in understanding how to contribute to this important topic. It is quite surprising that the collaboration seems to be more important towards manufacture of rubber and plastic products and other non-metallic mineral products instead of example mining quarrying. There is any other contribution? Okay. So maybe we can go through the results. Now there is another contribution right now. Oh, okay. Another one. Okay. We went back to the questions. The first question, we have 31% of people coming from academic research. No, 35. 35, okay. Design and professional, secondary one, and companies. And then NGOs, public administration, and others. Also market players and consumer organization. Okay. Okay, we can go to the second slides. The main, the most important phase of the value chain is the construction, the production of construction materials, then the end-of-life management, and then construction phase, then planning, design, and commissioning, logistics, operation, maintenance, renovation, property market. I'd like to say that according to today's policies, European policies, also renovation wave, in brackets, maintenance, operation, but also end-of-life management will play a significant role for the circular economy, and also for property market, but also market condition will play a very important role. I would say we will learn something about it on Tuesday. We can go to the end. The last question was about the collaboration between the construction infrastructure sector and other sectors. Again, we have first position for manufacture of rubber and plastics products, such as other non-metallic mineral products. Then other manufacturing of basic metals and fabricated metal products, let's say manufacturing of metals. Then mining and quarrying, and then water and supply. Oh, there is manufacture of equipment. Come back. Water supply, sewage and waste management and remediation, agriculture, and I don't see the text, but agriculture in general. Probably there is some room for improving collaboration between also agro-industry sector and recovery of material from, for example, waste, sewage, and so on, for the production of construction materials. I know there are many important experience on this. So probably in the future we will learn about something about it. But okay, we are at the end of this pool. Thank you all for participating. And I give back the floor to Johannes. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Now we have gained some insights on what we believe are the most important links. I think in today's circular talk, we have learned a lot on the industry needs and wants for the future. I think the industry is prepared. They all know where they are going to and where they should go to in the future. I'm sure there will be many more interventions and activities to come. On the reuse side, I think there's still a big market gap that will be a thing that will will need to be in place. On the recycling side of all the construction materials, I think we have not even taken a grasp of what are the demands of the future, how to make it possible that different materials and value loops, resource flows in cities or in settlements, and material exchange is going to happen. So we have seen the urban mining. We have seen that legal issues are still a big hindrance. The end of waste. We all know that it's to be honest, not very often too easy to work with secondary materials. We also know that I've seen here circularity indicators. We believe is also key to measure the performance. I think that's where then the investments also will take place on measured performance and SDG criteria. And that's also where this new EU taxonomy comes into play. I would love to share with you very quickly the current call for feedback by the Platform Sustainable Finance. Sustainable finance might be strange now, but in reality, there is in this EU taxonomy and in the so-called declaration, how do they call this? They call these delegation acts, here delegated acts, that's how they call it. They will touch upon every single sector. And today is the last day of this official call for feedback on the sustainable finance. So if you have, if you can take the time, it's like a long feedback round. But if you click only in construction demolition waste, you will be done in like 5 minutes. There is a big, of course, document here available. Sorry to say, but it has, I think, something like 800 pages or so, or maybe even more, with all the different sectors, and they give recommendations of all these different sectors. So this is a big thing. And they always want to have a no harm initiative. And there is this EU taxonomy compass, which is really a good thing, and it will emerge in the future with all the different sectors. And if you then see in the construction and real estate activities, sorry, you can see the construction of new buildings, the renovation, and you can see the, if you click on this plus, for example, you can see the different new buildings. How is the climate adaptation, the circular economy? What is like what they said is will be the standard for getting a finance positive finance scheme, and the future will be that only sustainable projects will also be financed. That's the whole idea of this EU taxonomy. So I really recommend, I mean, besides the Renovation Wave and all these Green Deal measures that touch upon what we are working with, is to really look into the EU taxonomy and what they plan there for the construction site. And with these words and in the belief that we will make it happen, and it's really, we've just seen the very beginning of the big transformation of the construction sector, I want to leave you and save you some more time for the midday. Enjoy the meals, and I will also go back to my meetings that I have here today at Delft. So looking very much forward to welcome you also on Thursday, where some other colleagues and Hubert, a colleague from Innowo, will have the moderation, and hope I will catch up again. And thank you all for listening and joining this important session. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.